This is the Wizard, WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us today in Wizard Mr. Deyon. He is running for Commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago, and we also have with us Bill Morton, who is the President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and he is running for 49th Ward Democratic Committeeman. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. It's been a very busy morning already for me, but I am doing wonderful. I'm happy to be here at Wizard, and I appreciate having this interview being done today here at Northwestern.
Northeastern. That's okay. Yeah.
Northeastern.
Northeastern Illinois University, NEIU.
Yes.
Okay. Deyon, please briefly describe the public offices you have held and which offices had the most influence on your prospective work as Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Commissioner if you win the upcoming March 17th general primary.
Very good question. Well, I've held several positions. I'm starting out, I was a youth commissioner in the village of Riverdale, which actually started out my political, grounds to moving
Trudy,
up.
station's off the air.
Yeah, turn the mics on.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
That one too, I don't see the red light on that one, Trudy.
That one doesn't have the red
Okay.
light. Okay, let's start all over. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Take two.
No problem.
Another great resource for you, honey. David Wolfgang. Good. Thumbs up. Hey, Gregor. Hey, Greg. Waving back at you. Hey, Mandy. Waving back at you. Thank you for watching. We're going on the interview right now. Did you bring it ready?
Yes.
Good. Do you have another one of these? Keep that. Thanks. Oh, cool. Just so I have a little talking point. That's perfect.
This is the Wizard, WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us at Wizard Mr. Deyon Dean, a candidate for the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and we also have with us Mr. Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce and candidate for 49th Ward Democratic Committeeman. How are you today, gentlemen?
I am doing fantastic. It's great to be here today, and
Good to have you.
Just looking forward to the interview.
First of all, please briefly describe the public offices you have held and which offices had the most influence on your prospective work as Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Commissioner if you win the upcoming March 17th general primary.
Okay, first of all, I always like to be confident and say when we win.
Yes.
Right.
But I just, the positions that I've held, it's kind of extensive here. I was a youth commissioner, a trustee in the village of Riverdale, which if you don't know what a trustee is, they're like aldermen in most communities. Also, I was the mayor of Riverdale, and I was appointed under two governors to the associate director of Department of Human Services, and that was a great job.
But which offices would you say had the most influence?
The one that had the most influence on me was the mayor. And the reason why it was the greatest influence for me, Trudy, is that when I ran as a trustee, in Riverdale, we had major water issues in our community. And our community on the north side flooded tremendously. Every time it rained, it was just bad for the people on the north side. Their homes, the infrastructure of their homes were being destroyed. There was contaminations in the waters. And so I said to myself, when I become mayor, which I did, I said, this is going to be one of my top priorities. Not ever thinking that I would run for Cook County Water Reclamation, but I wanted to make sure that I fixed this problem, which had been a huge issue for our residents in our community. So I had to do big things. I had to reach out to Cook County commissioners, the Cook County Water Reclamation, talk to the senator, our state representative, because it all was going to encompass money. So what we had to do is we had to talk about how we were going to go about doing that, and just to fast track, because we're doing the radio show, we were able to come up with $7 million in working with all individuals through Cook County. And the problem we began to fix. We did a televised in my administration. Now The project was completed in the next gentleman's administration,
Mhm.
but through mine and the work that we've done, we did televise. We found out where the issues were as far as the making the homes flood, and then we also did some things that pertain to the water issues, the contamination over in those areas. So we were able to get those monies together, and then in that next term, the $7 million came, and those problems are fixed today. So
How long did you work on this project in your term? Would you
pretty
say?
much it took most of my term as the mayor, and I would say I did one term, which is 4 years, and it was a priority, and we worked on it, and it was able to be completed in the next term, which the other gentleman came in, and he was able to get it done. But also just looking at the major issues in the South Suburban area alone, every portion of our communities over in that area floods all the time. From the south side of Chicago to the South Suburban area, we have huge flooding issues.
So Riverdale's problems have mostly been resolved or totally resolved.
Well, it's not totally resolved. The north side of our town has been fixed, where those homes that were being flooded no longer floods like they used to.
Yes.
But we still have some water issues, which we still have to work on throughout the other portion of our town, as well as adjoining communities.
So the adjoining communities, those mayors, were they collaborating with you in your work to bring the resources to Riverdale?
No, because it was a in-town issue.
I see.
So we didn't work, but we've had meetings through our mayor's caucus, and we've talked about many of the water issues, which is the flooding in our communities, because most communities, you cross the street, you're in the next community. So when those streets flood, it's flooding amongst, like I'll just use Dalton as an example. Dalton connects right with this Harvey, and those towns flood tremendously when it rains. We have heavy storms, heavy snows, when
It happens all the time.
it happens and it floods. So it's an issue that we do talk about, and we know that all of us need to come together and work on those issues. And this is something that I'd like to do as the next Water Reclamation Commissioner, is to look at these issues and see how I can best help surrounding areas as well as the entire Cook County.
So your 4 years of work on this issue helped prepare you for what you plan to do.
Yes, it has.
Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It definitely helped me to look at how we need to go about reaching out and bringing the appropriate people together in order to work on some of those flooding issues and contamination issues that we're experiencing today.
It's very interesting. Do you have a list of priorities in this work? What needs to come first in order to bring the best results, would you say?
I would say that, well, it's many of them, but I would say the top priority is, first of all, you have to work together collaboratively with your communities. And you have to find out what their water issues are. We all don't have the same, but we have similarity. And so we need to find out, how do we come together? And if we're going to do things on a larger level, larger scale, which I'd like to do, we need budget is going to be there. So how do the communities put together a collaborative budget that's going to help work with these issues, and then we can take it from there.
What would you say one issue differs from the other? How do these issues in adjoining communities differ concerning flooding?
Well, because a few of the communities in the surrounding area don't get their water from Cook County Water Reclamation. They have it going from other entities. So that in itself, we need to be able to communicate on how we could work together in that area. But as well, we need to find out, with the $1.1 billion that our Cook County Water Reclamation has, we need to find out what do they allocate to these type of issues, and then once we do that, then we can go to the towns and actually receive them, through water through Cook County. How do we work together?
So the communities that are not covered by Cook County's the Greater Chicago Reclamation District, they're covered by another district, and they might be having problems. But what you try to do for the communities that the Greater Chicago area covers would not help them as much, right? Or just bilaterally, but it wouldn't address their problems if they're covered by another district.
I would say that it wouldn't, because they're covered by another district. But if we're doing something and we're coming up with a plan that is workable, that's going to solve the problem, I think that those other entities that are working with those communities will look at what we're doing, and we can still, they can benefit from that.
Totally. What in your background inspired you to your extensive public service work?
Well, it was the way I've come up in a community-oriented family. My mother was an activist. She was a dean at Harold Washington School. She worked at Lakeview High School. So she's always been community-oriented. She went into the prisons and talked about things and changing people's lives. So, and I was a part of a reading club that she had for the community. So she's always kept us community-oriented. We've also worked with several of the officials today that, like the Email Jones of the world. I grew up around those individuals, and they weren't even in the positions that they were in. My mother was helping them run for office and get to the positions that they had, become.
So you were a community servant since you were very young.
Yes, always in the community. See, I used to wake up, and like I say, a lot of the elected officials today, I was a kid. I wake up, go into my living room, and there's Email Jones, there's Wilson Frost, there's people that, people are very familiar with today that I grew up around. Carrie Austin, she lived not too far from her husband at the time was the alderman, and I remember my family helping her husband, and then eventually she became the alderman. Her children went to school with me. We all went to grammar school and high school together. So I've been around.
Out of all these famous figures, did you have any mentor or mentors that affected your work?
I would say my mom, because of her just really, really caring about community, was my first mentor, and has always been my mentor. And my dad, who's he's no longer with us, but he was a hard worker on the business side. But as far as those that people are most familiar with, I would say Wilson Frost, individuals like that were an influence on me because I saw them all the time in the community. I mean, not just in my home, but doing things that affected our community in a positive way.
So with your mentors, you're going to carry on that tradition of being a community activist or a community servant, and really speak with the people.
Yes, I would say that you are who you are in life, and we all want to shape ourselves to be, but who your true person and being is going to come through your work. And so I would say yes, I want to continue being a public servant because it's in my DNA.
It is.
So
you mentioned that the first office that you ran for was youth commissioner in
Riverdale. Well, that was an appointment. And then I went on to trustee. But in between all of that, I had radio shows. I've done, these are all community access television show. People talk. I'm currently now still doing TV on YouTube as far as working with the people. It's called Straight Talk. And so it's all about community. It's all about making sure that we impact the community and bring the appropriate people to the forefront who can help the community. And so I like to say that I'm someone who connects the dots.
Well, even so, when you first ran for office, that was, you were, what office was it again? Trustee?
Trustee, yes.
How did you get your initial funding? That seems to be a very challenging part for any campaign.
Yes. Well, what happened was because I was so involved in the community, when I moved to Riverdale, a gentleman, his name was Joe Zabel. He was a young guy who was a trustee. He was running for the mayor at the time when I moved into the town, and they were all behind him. But what I was doing, I was hosting things for the community, youth programs, college fairs, and things like that. So they took notice to me very quickly.
As youth commissioner, right?
Yes, as youth commissioner. And so when Joe Zabel decided he was going to run for mayor, he approached me and he asked me, he said, "You're doing so many wonderful things, how would you like to just work for our community? You live here, how would you like to be a part of it?" I talked to my wife and I said, I really would love to become a part of it. So he went back to all the other trustees, the board members, and they appointed me in 1997. And then I had to run for office in 99. It was only a 2-year sprint.
Yes.
And from there, I had the support of the board and the community. So whatever little community fundraising we had, those funds came into play and was able to help me become, because I ran with parties at the time. I wasn't running by myself. Trustees ran 3 on, 3 off. So I ran with the party. We received money from, entities, business, community, and were able to be successful.
So you won your very first election?
Yes, I did, in 99. 1999. We know the song, right?
1999. Party like it's 1999.
Right. Exactly.
What is most challenging about public service, and how do you address that?
Well, what I've learned in public service is that we have many mindsets. And what affects one doesn't affect the other. What's important to someone else is not as important to someone else. So I think that you have to have a balance, and you have to understand in being a public servant that, you know, either, when you have a good idea, you got to try to figure out how to bring all these entities together. And sometimes that's challenging.
It is.
So, but there's a way to do it. You have to still cater to each mindset. And so I've learned to balance and do that. And so but the biggest challenge again is just really saying to yourself, how do I figure out how to bring these entities together? Because sometimes it's going out and speaking to other public figures, other business people, other community people, and getting them to be involved in bringing us to this melting pot where we can get things done.
So you're good at suggesting different compromises that the various entities could use.
Correct.
That's difficult.
It's difficult, definitely.
Do you have any mentees in public service? And if you do, what is your most important piece of advice for them?
I have several. Well, I would say, now I'm going to start from today and then I'll go back. Today is a very good time because I'm partnering with Frank Alvena,
Yes.
who is the finance director for Cook County Water Reclamation. And I would say for this position that I'm going for currently right now today, it's extremely important to be with someone who has an extensive background as he has in being on the board for 18 years. So for him to reach out and partner with me, he is definitely my number one today mentee. And my advice to him is to keep on doing what he's doing because it's very effective. And many people who sit on the board today have had an opportunity to learn from him. So I'd say to him, that would be my other mentee would be, there's several. I really like, right now, today, she's new, but I like our mayor. She's not my mayor because I live in Riverdale, but I call her my mayor, which is Lori Lightfoot. She is doing a wonderful job. And I see from the time that I was a mayor and some of the things that I had to go through and the challenges that I've had to go through, how well she's handling those challenges. I know she goes home because she's dealing with Chicago, one of the largest cities in the world, and but she's doing a well job. So she's a mentee to me in a way. I'm watching her and how she handles things that come at her. I call them darts. People throw darts all the time. How do you handle those darts? And she's doing a well job in handling the darts, and she's making sure that she's coming up with sound solutions. So she's a mentee to me as well. Emil Jones, during his time of being the Senate president, was a definite mentor to me because we had a close relationship. We have a close relationship, and just seeing how he handled things, the budget for the state of Illinois, some of the other issues as far as getting things passed on both sides of the aisle. He was very, I want to say, he was good at bringing people together. And so he is a mentee still today because if you speak with him, he's always going to give you sound advice and make sure that you're moving in the right direction. I would say, who else? In Thornton Township, I came up under Frank Zuccarelli. I don't know if you all know who that is. He's the supervisor for Thornton Township. He was someone that I worked and watched for many years on how he handled situations for the 13 communities that he encompasses Thornton Township, in which I live in. So I've learned, just how to, get out to the community and share with them the importance of putting the right people in office, as well as the issues. I mean, we have, hungry people in our community. We have other issues as far as people needing assistance and things like that. And I watched how he worked. One of the things that I was on, and he allowed myself and many to do, is we put together the Human Relations Commission in Thornton Township, which dealt with the fact that we still had a melting pot. We still do today in those communities, 13 towns of Black, white, Hispanic, different ethnic groups. And so to be a part of that helped me gauge on saying it's not just a Black thing, it's a people's thing.
Did you have a Human Relations department when you were Riverdale's mayor?
No, I worked actually when I was the mayor. I still worked with the Human Relations for Cook County, but I did do activities that was siloed to that from what I learned in being on the commission in Thornton Township.
And what was the activity that seemed to be the most effective in addressing human relations?
Well, one of the things we did, and I'm so proud of it, is that I was a part of doing the first Taste of Thornton Township. And you know, the quickest way to get to anybody's heart is food.
Right.
I don't care who you are. You know, food will bring people together.
Mhm.
So Thornton Township, we decided as a Human Relations Commission to do the Taste of Thornton Township. That means it encompasses every walk of life, you know, and we brought the food vending people from every walk of life together. Diversity, and bringing them together. And within that, there were entertainment, there were educations, there was speaking, there were different things that we were able to do in bringing people together. And then in different other program settings, we had different ethnic groups do things that we invited other people to be a part of, so we can learn different culture.
Is this still going on? The Taste of Thornton?
It's still going on today. It's still going on, and I'm very proud to have been a part of the group that put that together.
It's one thing when you create something and you're part of the group that puts it together.
Yes.
But after you're out of office, or after you're doing other things, and it continues on, it's like a legacy. It's something to be proud of.
It definitely is. Every time I go back every year, it's seeing how it has grown. I'm very proud. I'm proud.
You were a part of that.
Yeah, I was a part of that, to see that, and the same thing in being the mayor. I mean, I put together a lot of different things in town that we're still doing today, and I'm proud of that as well. You know, so there's some things to hang my hat on.
What in the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District do you plan to do differently from the current commissioners?
Well, right now this is because you always move on experience. And what I see now is that, it's not that they are not trying to do a good job, but because of the area that I live in, it's a void right now. There's no one that lives in the South suburban area or further south side of the city of Chicago. I'm the only candidate on the ticket right now for that. And so I'm saying what I see now, there's a lot of projects going on in certain areas that are more affluent in Riverdale and other areas in the South suburban area that are being completed. I think we need to get on top of that and make sure that we're completing projects in the area that is hugely affected when it comes to storms and elevation of water, contaminations in water. I think we need to put a little bit more attention into those areas, and I live there, so I understand what's going on.
So you feel like your people are being underrepresented, and you're going to solve that?
Well, I would say this: we had a gentleman before me, Tim Bradford, who lived out in Matterson, and he was doing a good job and working to try and move things forward. I want to get on there and continue that. I want to be able to say we can get some things done, because if you pull up the website for water reclamation, there are a lot of projects that say ongoing when it comes to the areas in which I come from.
Sure.
And ongoing to me means it could be paperwork, it could be still talking to people. I want to start seeing more completed projects. So my job is to make sure that those things that are ongoing, and also bringing new things that are taking place as far as issues to that table to say, how can we get it done? But I also look forward to continuing to work for the overall good of Cook County and other areas as well. I don't want to negate that they don't have issues as well. So I'm looking forward to learning what those issues are and finding out how we can best work with all of Cook County.
Were there completed projects then in the past for the south side?
There have been several completed, not several. I would say the ones that I'm on is about a good 2 to 3 projects that I'm aware of that they've been working on in the South suburban area.
And that amount versus what has been completed on the north end is a vast difference.
I would definitely say there's a vast difference in completed projects that need to be looked at. And I say we have a $1.1 billion budget.
Right.
And one of the things I'd like to do, as well as separate from the projects, because I need to get on and learn more about the projects, and that's what I'm looking forward to. So I don't want to speak out of bounds to say nothing more is being done in the South suburban area or the South side. I'll learn those things once I'm on the board. But I do know that we must address contracts. Those contracts must be where it's a fairness as it pertains to work that's going to be done on these different projects. So what I'm speaking to is that I'd like to see more minority participation. The Black community, brown community, Asian community, we need to be more part of those contracts. And I don't mean just subcontracts, I mean principal contracts. It's $1.1 billion. Who's getting it? If you look at those numbers, it's not us. Those numbers do not affect our communities. So we need to make sure there's a fairness across the board on how we allocate and educate individuals who are business owners on how they can work and become a part of principal projects or even being the principal to these projects,
Mhm.
and subcontracts and increasing that more. When it comes to jobs, we know that there's labor jobs out there. We need to take a greater look on who's getting those jobs, and also there's an executive positions in the water reclamation. Who's got those jobs? Who has them now? And
Are they appointed by the board? Those jobs?
now, I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to give misinformation on that, but my job is to get there and see how it's being done, and see to it that the numbers are increasing in those other areas that I just spoke about.
Yes.
That it's a fairness across the board. I mean, I get a little, sometimes I hear about, nepotism at its best, in water reclamation, where people are hiring family members. I don't know how true that is. I get there and have to see how those things are being done.
So right now, there isn't enough transparency for people to do the research on that.
Correct. Transparency definitely has to be a part of when I get to the table, that we need to address, and we need to do our due diligence to assure that those numbers are increasing in every category.
So you'll fight for the transparency.
Yes, I will.
Is there ombudsman at the water reclamation now, like an inspector general?
Yeah, they just brought in someone new. I heard that they just brought someone in to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to do. So that is quite interesting, and I need to, do my homework a little bit on how that's going, because it's fairly new. So I don't know exactly what's happening with the attorney. What do you call it? Attorney General?
Inspector General
Inspector
or
General. Yeah,
ombudsman. Yes.
Inspector General. And so I need to do my due diligence on that and find out more about that. I'm looking forward to how that goes.
Well,
Well, it sounds like you're all about jobs, transparency, people first, and fairness.
Fairness and training. And the last thing that's important to me is to assure that there's proper training. I know that the current president and individuals do get out, but I want to see it done more, especially in the more needed communities. That people understand that these jobs exist. People understand that their input to helping us better keep our water clean is being done. I'm not saying it's not being done. I'm just saying from the areas in my own personal experience, I see there is a need to increase more.
Well, I believe in you, Dan, and I'm officially endorsing you on this radio show.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
And I officially, if I could, I'm not a committee member, but I endorse you as well. And
endorsement from the mayor.
Endorsement
I'm
from
honored.
the mayor. He's the endorsement from the mayor. I think that you will do a fine job. And the reason why I say that, and I know we got a short period of time, is because the people you connect yourself with says a lot about who you are and what you stand for. And in meeting you, you've connected yourself with several good people. Again, my good friend Frank Avila, and several other people that I know you work with. So I look forward to working with you.
Before we go or anything, I want to talk about the event that we all went to.
Yes.
Trudy, what was the name of the Asian?
The Asian American Coalition of Chicago the Lunar New Year celebration.
That was a fantastic event.
Oh yes. It was a lot of people there. The food was great.
Oh, it certainly was. We had the fish.
Right. I had the chicken. I wanted the fish, but I had the chicken. But at the end of the day, it was very educational for me as well, because every time you go and you go to different places like the Asian event, you learn things. The dancing, the culture, what they're about, how they what's important to them. Just through simple conversation, I learned a lot of things. And
there was every politician there, from lieutenant governor down to Bill Morton for 49th Ward committeeman. and there were a lot of politicians, but at the end, what I enjoyed most was the awards for the public servants. There were high school kids getting awards, and Frank Avila was up there with a mention, and it was really a fantastic way to network and to honor the Asian community. I saw my friend Deshant Sharma out there, and he was surprised to see me because we worked to renovate the Adelphi Theater together for 2.5 years and save the theater.
Oh, wow.
And the next day, which was yesterday night, Trudy and I went over to the Hare Krishna Temple, ISKCON Chicago, and that's where he is. And he grabbed my shoulder from behind, and he started rubbing my my back a little bit, and gave me a smile.
Okay.
So I know that him and his family are going to vote for me and us because I'm endorsing you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I also, we had Tony Preckwinkle there who was sitting. I actually had an opportunity to sit at the table when I came in,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's there. She was there. Jesse White was there.
Jesse, what was it? And you know, I said the top of the table, Lieutenant Governor. Top of the top of the chart would be Senator Dick Durbin.
Oh yeah, we took a picture with him.
We certainly did.
Yeah.
It was so nice to meet him again,
Right.
and he's helped a lot of my friends.
Yes.
He helped
yes.
my friend Sarah and Dorji get his wife into the country.
Oh wow.
A long time ago. So I really respect him.
Yeah, I came up in working in Thornton Township, and Frank Zuccarelli, the supervisor, is really good friends with him. So I had an opportunity to travel and be in his circle and just hear him talk about the state.
And I like how he's fighting Trump too.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. And, you know, and we just got to see where that goes.
That's right.
Because it's very interesting right now.
Deyon, what advice would you have for our students about public service?
Get involved is the first thing. Because, you know, no matter what you do in life, everything comes back to community and it comes back to politics. There's nothing you can do in life. You can't get a job. Politics is connected to every job in the world. You know, there's a politician signing off, you know, or the company won't even exist in the community if a politician didn't sign off on that business being in that community. So I would say get involved. If you want to see stronger communities, start at your local level. Get involved, your youth commissions, you know, get involved in your park district, your library, you know, get involved because that's what makes community strong.
When you were youth commissioner, how did you get more youth involved in your programs?
Well, it took a lot of effort because a lot of people, when they come home from work, they're tired. The parents are really not trying to engage in anything other than just being with their own personal families. So you have to go door to door. You have to go grassroots. It's about grassroots, getting out there, knocking on the doors, telling people what you're doing, hosting events and doing things to really try and get them out. But you can't just host events. You have to do a survey to include people to be a part of that. You know, so you need to know what's the interest of the area in which you're trying to cover.
How hard is it to get a
It's very hard, but in today's world, it's actually much easier because we have technology. So there's ways that you can do it. You can do it through your YouTube, television, all the other, you know, the president's always
The
on.
Facebook, the
Facebook.
Twitter, the Twitter.
The
Twitter.
The Twitter.
Or your constant contact newsletter or whatever.
Newsletter, but electronically it could be done through, you know, just updates. You get hits on your phone now just to tell you to, you know, look at what's going on. So the technology is the best way to do it today, but hardcore letters is good for people in the community as well, because some of our older population, they don't do the electronics like we do.
Right.
So we need to make sure that they still get it. So newsletters are very important. They're going to always be important.
Do the newsletters go out through the snail mail, or would you say?
Or they hand it out, or
Well, I would say in the areas that I'm involved in, the regular village newspaper goes through the mail. But when you want actual things known about your park districts, library, it's best to really do door to door, because when you're knocking on doors, you get a chance to talk to the people and pique their interest in being a part of it, and you may even get some volunteers through that, you know, and speaking with them.
really
face-to-face.
knocking on doors, meeting the people.
Yeah.
That's how you're gonna win.
Exactly. You got to, grassroots is everything. So I encourage the young people to really get involved. You are the future. You're going to shape our future. So if you're not involved, how can you shape the future if you're not involved?
Do you have any secret about how to get the more youth involved in, say, volunteering for your campaign?
I would say I'm an energetic person, and I'd love to have your support. I would encourage you to go on my web page, www.citizensfordeyondean.com. Take a look at some of the things I have done, some of the people I've connected myself with. We need you. We need you to volunteer. We need you to volunteer for this campaign because it's county-wide. It's impossible for me to know every person in the county, but young people, you guys cover a lot of ground when it comes to Northeastern, when it comes to the high schools. You guys know the people. You all are a huge influence on the adults in your home, whether you realize it or not. When you talk to your mom or talk to your dad or whomever your guardian may be in your life, when you speak to them about you being interested in community, you are taking their interest up a notch or two.
Who is the greatest segment of volunteers for your campaign, would you say?
Well, right now I would say the older population because they're more, homeowners because they're taxpayers and they,
Retired maybe?
retired. But see, the thing about it is this: even though they are the biggest interest, a lot of our issues when it comes to throwing these, water bottles and plastics and different things into our water, we need to be talking to our youth. We need to make them understand if you want your tomorrow to be better, you have to be a part of it today. So
Right.
I'm asking them to connect with Deyon Dean, connect with my good friend Frank Abda. I always say his name. I get it tongue. Abda.
Yeah.
My good friend. And you guys go out there and you tell your mom and your dad, if you can't be a volunteer, at least tell people, punch 132 for Deyon Dean. And I know Frank has spoke earlier about my other good friend, Frank Abda, for at 123. And Bill. Bill, you had punch 252, right?
252.
252.
So we're talking about Bill Morton for 49th Ward Committeeman, punch 252. Deyon Dean for Democrat for Cook County Commissioner, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, punch 132. And Frank Avila, Commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And he's the only civil engineer on the Water Reclamation District.
Right.
He's the best, and he's running for re-election. Punch 123 for Frank Avila.
And I want to let the young people to know one thing. She's asking, how can you get involved? When you get me involved and you keep Frank involved and you keep Bill involved, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming out to the schools. We're going to be coming out to the community. They're already doing some things, but it's not enough in my opinion. We're going to be coming out there. We're going to come up with a great program, initiatives to get you involved so you understand the things you could do to help the future and keeping it clean and a green environment, but as well as that training for jobs, for you to be able to take care of your family. Everyone, I encourage college. I encourage you to take it to the up levels that you would love to have in your life. But as well, there's some people, your friends, that say, hey, I got to take care of my family right now. We got to get you into training programs that's going to put you to work. We want to come out there and be a part of that for you.
Do you have any youth that you helped when you were youth commissioner that are still with you today?
Yes, I do. I have several. I've had some who've had some issues and some who were great students in school who've gone on to college and graduated and they're working today that I've helped sit down. It's called time, putting in time. What you put in life, you get out of it. Anything that you don't put anything into, you will get nothing from it. So I work with them. I put time in, even though there were days I was tired. I work with those young people, understanding that if we didn't have some guidance for them, they were going to make their own way. And a lot of times young people don't know totally what to do. Today's young people have a vast amount of things through the technology. They're learning things from around the world. But still, community is community. Every community is community. Everything is local, and it starts at home.
And it's not easy all the time, but we're going to keep on pushing, and we're going to make it. We're going to get elected. We're going to make a positive change in our communities and our world.
Thank you, Mr. Deyon Dean.
Thank you.
Candidate for Metropolitan Water Reclamation Commissioner, and thank you, Mr. Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce and candidate for 49th Ward Democratic Committeeman.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is the Wizard at WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM.
Excellent. Yes. So these cameras are still running. I'm gonna turn them off. We had Facebook Live going. We had live on the radio. We got an audio recording. You can go ahead and say something to him still.
Hey, let's make sure we punch these numbers. 152 for Bill Morton, 132 for Deyon Dean, and 123 for Frank Avila. And we just need your support, people. This is a very important race. A lot of people are not talking about it. A lot of people don't want you to talk about it because they want to keep it quiet. So when you keep things quiet, the same people get back in. And when you look out your door, the same thing you get. So if you want change, you want to bring people in who are talking about change and who are connecting with people who really want to make that change happen. So we're asking you, get on board, get with us, help us, help us.
That's right. Get on the ticket. Elect Bill Morton for 49th Ward Committeeman, Frank Avila for Water Reclamation District, re-elect him, and Deyon Dean for Water Reclamation District Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's just music? Jazzy.
Oh yeah, I love the music.
let me go.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get my phone and then